Welcome to another General PvE build, and this time it will be for the condition damage of the Ranger. Now Ranger has the capability of dealing the burning condition damage, bleeding, and the poison. Now the poison, in my personal opinion, after doing the testing, I came to the conclusion that the poison is supposed to be a secondary condition damage type, purely on the basics of after I have tested the attribute and the utility and also the pets. I came to the conclusion that compared to the burning and also bleeding, poison is actually a little bit weak compared to the other two, and because of that I like to devote more of my attention into the burning and the bleeding. Now, as I have previously mentioned in my introduction video of the series, I'm looking for the damage, the survivability, and also the AoE oriented aspect. And because of that, I focusing between bleeding and burning condition damage. I put more into the burning condition damage type rather than the bleeding. I mean, I still include the bleeding in my specialization equations, but I'm more favor of the burning because after considering the AoE effect, the recharge time, the damage dealt, and also for the survivability, I felt that the burning condition damage is actually a little bit more effective compared to the bleeding. Now bleeding is still viable, but compared to the burning condition damage in general PvE, when you are facing with multiple mobs at the same time, I felt that the burning condition damage is actually stronger. Or if stronger is actually not the correct term that I would use, I would say effective. It's actually more effective compared to the bleeding. And so, as always, there are three categories. I'll go over with the equipment first, and then I'll go with the specializations, and after that, all the information will come afterward. So there are two ways of doing this. The first one is to maximizing your damage, and the second one is to survive more in the battlefield. Now I'm in favor of surviving more in the battlefield rather than the maximum damage, but again, it's up to you how you want to do it. So let me just go with the maximum damage. For the maximum damage, you have to go with the full vipers. This is purely because the full viper allows you to have the expertise, which is increase your condition durations, and because of that you are able to deal you are able to make your condition damage last longer. So that comes down to every single one of your condition damage type is bleeding, burning, and poisons. And the rune that I'm recommend you to use is the superior rune of Berserker, because that's not only increase your draw damage, but it can also increase your condition damage, and on top of that it will provide with the overall damage increase in condition and draw damage. And so that's a good one to have. Now you can also consider the superior rune of the Nightmare, but then Nightmare has a little bit has the last option to be a little bit off, which is inflicting the fear, which I'm not in favor of. So that's why if you are planning to go for the maximum amount of damage, then I'm in favor of the superior rune of Berserker. Now for those of you before that, for the weapons, you use short bow and axe. Short bow for the first weaponry set. For the secondary weapon set, you use the axe and the torch. Now for the short bow, you are going to use the sigil of agony, which is for bleeding, increase 20% longer for the bleeding durations. And for the secondary sigil, you are going to use the sigil of smoldering, and that will increase your burning duration to be 20% longer. Now when it comes to axe and torch, you use exactly the same sigil agony on your axe and sigil of smoldering on your torch. That will increase the 20% duration for bleeding and burning on the axe and the torch respectively, because the axe is for primarily dealing bleeding condition damage, and the torch is dealing the burning condition damage. And so for the trinkets and everything, for the maximum damage, you go everything for the vipers, nothing else. Now when it comes to the survivability option, for the survivability options, this is the one that I'm in favor of, purely on the basics that in terms of the cost is actually quite cheap to obtain the full set of rabbit, which is precision, toughness, and condition damage. And the rune itself is the superior rune of both styles, which is increase your burning condition damage and also burning durations as your primary tab. Now when it comes to the weapon choice, you can go for rampages or you can go for rabbit as well. Now if you can afford it, just go for vipers for the full weapon set. Is entirely up to you, so depending on which one that you can obtain and which one that you can afford. For the rune is for the sigil itself, now you have the option to go with sigil of agony or sigil of agony and sigil of smoldering on your short bow, and for the axe and torch, same thing, sigil of agony or sigil of smoldering. Now the alternative, actually I forgot to mention in the maximizing damage, you can also go for the sigil of the earth, which is 60% chance on critical hits. It will deal the bleeding 5-second cooldown, so you can go for that one as well to replace with the sigil of agony. And in previous talk I did not mention about the sigil of the earth. You can also go for that as well for the full viper set. It's not really a big deal. But now come back to the survivability set, which is a rabbit. You can also go for the sigil of agony, or you can use the alternative, which is sigil of the earth. It's entirely up to you, so which one do you prefer? But I went with the sigil of the earth for the rabbit set, and sigil of smoldering. So 2 sigil of the earth, 2 sigil of smoldering, put one on the short bow, one of each on the short bow, and also one on the axe, sigil of the earth on the axe, and the torch sigil of smoldering, and that's it for the weapon. Now is there anything else should be covered? I think that's pretty much it. And for actually the accessory and the trinkets. Now if you are going for the survival options, then I highly recommend you to go for the rabbit and the die set, which is precision, toughness, vitality, and condition damage. But because the new map at the moment, as you can see in this video, I'm using the footage from my ranger doing the events in the new map Ember Bay. You have the option to go with the back piece to be full to be vipers, and also for your accessory to be vipers as well. So if you can afford it, or actually if you farm in the Ember Base or the Bloodstone Fence from the previous living story, you can actually exchange the tokens from the new maps for the viper pack piece and amulet and etc. And so if you can, I highly recommend for you to be getting the pack piece and the amulet to be vipers, just so that you can increase a little bit extra damage, and also for the condition durations. Otherwise, if you don't have that, if you don't have enough tokens, or you don't have access to Bloodstone Fen, etc., then I highly recommend, or any Hearthstone expansions maps, then it's fine. Then in that case, then I highly recommend you to go with the die and rabbit option, which is precision, toughness, vitality, and condition damage. Now let's move on to the specializations. Now when it comes to specialization, as I already mentioned to you, that I'm focusing more toward the burning condition damage, purely on the basis that it offers more AoE oriented, and because of that my specialization will be tailored to that requirement. And so I would start off with my specialization with the skirmishing. Now skirmishing, I'm going with the bottom and middle. Now the second one is for the beast mastery. I am using the middle, top, and bottom. And for the last one, I'm using the wilderness survival, bottom, top, bottom. So for the utility, I'm using the healing sprint, which allows me to set up a trap that can heal me and my allies, and also for my pets as well, grant regenerations and cures conditions on allies. And so that's a very good thing to have, especially when you are doing the events in a new map. The mobs will deal a lot of condition damage tap on you, a variety of condition damage tap on you, and a lot of condition damage on you as well. And so because of that, I prefer to have regeneration so that it can cure condition damage on me and my allies and my pet. Now the second one, I'm using a flame trap. Now Flame Trap has a 12-second of cooldown when you equip it with the expertise from the first attribute of the specializations, and because of that, that's what I prefer to have. It has a short cooldown, and it can also deal more damage per pulse, and also the radius is quite large as well. It's 240, and so because of that, that's what I'm in favor of. Now the next one is the Sun Spirit. Now the Sun Spirit allows me to give the chance, 75% chance to apply burning condition damage on hit, and that's not only applying to me, but it can also apply to my pets and my allies. And if I don't need it anymore, I can sacrifice it and deal a lot of damage to multiple foes. So the number of targets is 5 targets at the same time, and it deals 3 stacks of burning condition damage, and the radius is 240, so that's very good. Next one, Signet of the Hunt. Signet of the Hunt, I have this because in general PvE I'm in the favor of having a permanent movement speed, and 25% increased movement speed is something that I prefer to have. And also Signet active, your next attack and your pet's next attack deal more damage, which is I don't usually use the activation of the Signet of the Hunt. I prefer to keep it passive because of the movement speed, and that's all. Now for the elite, I am using the Strength of the Pack, and you also have the option to go with the Entangle, which is dealing bleeding condition damage and also immobilize the foes. Now I'm not in the favor of the Entangle. It's purely on the basics that it's a one-off activations. The number of targets is 5, radius is 600, so that's very huge. But then again, it's only able to deal 5 bleedings, whereas the Strength of the Pack, I have the option to grant Might to my pet, and also Fury, and also Stability and everything. And because of that, the boon application interval is 3 seconds, and so that's something that I in favor of instead of the Entangle Elite. But then again, it's up to you. Now the other option that you can have is to have the Spirit of Nature. Now this one is more like a support spell, which is depending on the case, the scenario. So if you want to help your allies in dungeons, or you want to help them in the mass meta event, feel free to have it. But I am in the favor of Strength of the Pack, and that is for my elite. Now it comes to the pet. Now the ranger has the ability to have an extra companion compared to other classes. Now the extra companion pet will allow you to deal extra condition damage onto a target in the form of bleeding or in the form of burning condition damage, and so it's a very good thing that it's a very good thing for the ranger. So in terms of the pet, for the burning condition damage oriented, this build is tailored to burning condition damage, obviously. I am using the Fire Wyvern. Now the Fire Wyvern is coming from the Hearthstone expansion map, which I will include the link down in the description where you can get it, and also the image of it in this video so you can see what it looks like. Now for the secondary pet, I am using the Smoke Scale, but I also have the alternative options as well. The first one came to my mind is the Bristol Bag. Now Bristol Bag has the ability to use the AoE bleeding skill, and also it has the ability to focus on a single target and deal a single firing a lot of projectiles to that target, and in turn because you have the Sun Spirit, it can also deal condition damage on that target as well, so burning condition damage on the target as well, on top of the bleeding, and so that's a very good thing to have. The second one, as I already mentioned, is the Smoke Scale. Now the Smoke Scale is a little bit more about the survivability because of the second skill F2. It creates a blind powder AoE effect, and so because of that, every attacks melee attacks that are coming after me will be missed, and so that's something that I prefer to use for survival. Now the third option is to go with the Lynx. Now the Lynx is the type of cat that you can use to deal bleeding condition damage, and you don't necessarily have to have the Hearthstone expansion to be able to get the Lynx. And another one that you can also consider is the Drake, the Fire Drake. The Fire Drake is from the Tyria core game, and you can have it to deal burning condition damage as well. So in summary, if you have the Heart of Stone expansion, then I highly recommend you to get the first pet to be the Wyvern, the Fire Wyvern, because it's the AoE 5 field, which is very powerful actually. And the second pet to be either the Smoke Elf for survivability or the Priest of Back for range attack and also single target focus. For those of you who don't have the Heart of Stone expansion, then I highly recommend you to get the links for your first pet, and the second one is the Fire Drake. Now you can also consider the other options as well for range attack, such as the spiders for poison condition damage. But again, I mean, like, this build is not tailored to the poison condition damage, so because of that I would not recommend to use the spider. But again, the spider has the ability to do the range attack. Actually, the proper term for the Fire Drake in the Corteria map is the Salamander Drake, not the Fire Drake. My apologies. And so you have the option to go with the links for the bleed condition damage, or the Salamander Drake for the fire condition damage, or you can go for the spider for range poison damage. Okay, but there are some other ones like the Devour, also deal poison condition damage as well, and also the bird can also deal bleeding damage as well. And so any types of birds, you know, like the eagle, the hawk, etc., they also do have the bleeding condition damage as well. And so that when it comes to pets for Corteria, you have a variety that you can choose from. If you do have the access to the Heart of Stone expansion, then I highly recommend you to pick the Fire Wyvern and the either the Bristol Back or the Smoke Scale to be your pets, because like they are able to deal AoE, and also on top of that they can focus, and Smoke Scales can increase your survivability as well. And also like try to swap your pet as often as possible, because the first damage of the specializations from the Beast Mastery, not Beast Mastery, Wilderness Survival, will allow you to, after swapping pets, your pet's first attack will inflict poison damage onto the foe. So that's something that really extra damage that you can have. But you can also swap the pet to use the F2 skill. So you know, when this pet cooldown of the skill, just swap it to the other one, use the ability, and then after that just swap them again and again to activate the skill as often as possible. So that's pretty much for the pet. I will be moving on to the other section and other information that you should be aware of. Now for the last section, I usually primarily talk about food actually. So I don't usually talk much about any other stuff aside from the food. So in regard to the food, just use your magic find food that I always been recommending you to do so. Now just a little bit extra, I find it quite amusing to see that in the new map Ring of Fire, the new mobs actually, they are not immune to fire damage, which is a little bit strange to me, because fire damage, from my understandings and also from my past experience, some of the mobs in the game in Guild Wars 2 are immune to the fire condition damage, but that doesn't seem to be the case in the new map Ember Bay in the Ring of Fire Island. So I just find it quite amusing to me. But then again, just a little bit of a caution, a little bit of a cautions advice. The build that I gave you just now in this video, actually, the build that I'm giving you in this video, the build itself is tailored to the burning condition damage, and because of that, some of the mobs that you find in Guild Wars 2 game, they will have the immune options of the burning condition damage. So whenever you apply the burning condition damage, it will not do any damage. So please keep that in mind, that it might be a drawback for you when you attack them. Now the good news is that because the Ranger has the capability of dealing bleeding and also burning condition damage at the same time, so that's not really that big of a deal, because like if you don't have the burning condition damage to be that effective on a certain type of mob, you can also have the bleeding as well. So that's not really the big issue in the open PvE. So that's just a little bit of my advice or my cautious advice for you, just so that you can be aware of burning condition damage might not be that effective against some of the mobs that have the immune system of the burning condition damage. So that's pretty much it for the Ranger condition damage. If you have any questions or if you have any feedback for me, please feel free to give it to me down in the comment section below, or you can also always send privately private message to me. Any of them will do. So that's pretty much it. Have fun, take care, I will see you later.